It was just after midnight. The emergency department had finally become quiet after a usually busy routine. Nurses were catching up on paperwork, doctors were reviewing labs report. The trauma team was taking a brief moment to breathe. Then, suddenly, the emergency doors flew open. A stretcher came rushing in at full speed. Running beside it was a young woman, crying uncontrollably. Behind her were two small children, terrified and confused. On the stretcher lay a man approximately 32 years old. He wasn't moving, he wasn't breathing. His skin was pale, cold, and covered in sweat. Within seconds, the entire trauma team knew this was a fight against time. As we transferred him onto the emergency bed, every member of the trauma team immediately took their position. One physician checked for a pulse. Nothing. Another connected the cardiac monitor. There was no effective heart rhythm. The oxygen saturation couldn't even be detected. His body felt cold and clammy. He had arrived in complete cardiac arrest. Without wasting even a second, we started CPR. Deep chest compressions, high quality ventilations. The airway team prepared for intubation. Nurses established intravenous access while medications were being prepared. The room became a perfectly coordinated machine. Everyone knew exactly what to do. This wasn't panic. This was years of training in action. Following advanced cardiac life support protocols, we administered repeated doses of epinephrine. The cardiac monitors continued showing rhythms that offered little hope. We indicated the defibrillator was charged. Clear. A shock was delivered. Immediately, chest compressions resumed. Again, another rhythm check. Still nothing. Another round of CPR. More medications, more compressions, more hope. Minutes felt like hours. Outside the room, the young wife stood frozen. Her children clung tightly to her. They didn't fully understand what was happening. They knew something was terribly wrong. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Still no meaningful heartbeat, no blood pressure, no signs that the brain was receiving oxygen. Inside the room, everyone continued giving everything they had. Sweat covered our faces. Our hands were exhausted, but nobody stopped. Finally, after nearly 40 minutes of continuous resuscitation, the heartbreaking decision had to be made. Despite our possible intervention, there was no return of spontaneous circulation. The patient was pronounced dead. The room fell silent. No doctor ever got used to deliver this kind of news. He walked outside to meet the family. His wife looked at us with hope still in her eyes. Before we even spoke, she understood. We explained gently that he had arrived in complete cardiac arrest. We had performed prolonged CPR. We had used every available medication, every recommended treatment, every advanced life support technique. But despite all our efforts, we couldn't bring him back. The family broke down in tears. Even members of the staff stood quietly, reflecting on how incredibly young he was. Sometimes medicine simply reaches its limit, or so we thought. As staff members began removing equipment, the cardiac monitor was still connected through the chest electrodes. Suddenly, beep, one single beep. At first, everyone assumed it was artifact. Then, another beep, another. The monitor displayed an organized rhythm. Someone shouted. It caught a rhythm. The entire team sprinted back into the room. We immediately checked for a pulse. This time, there it was. A pulse, weak but real. His heart had started beating on its own. For a few seconds, nobody could believe what they are witnessing. The patient who had declared death had spontaneous circulation again. There was no time to celebrate. The airway was immediately secured with an endotracheal tube. Mechanical ventilation was started using an ambo bag. Blood pressure support medications were prepared. The patient was stabilized as quickly as possible. Within minutes, he was transferred to the intensive care unit for advanced critical care. The fight wasn't over. In many ways, it was only beginning. Cases like this remind our emergency physician and healthcare workers that medicine is full of surprises. Events like these are extremely rare, but they reinforce one important lesson. As long as there is even the smallest possibility of life, healthcare teams continue fighting for their patients, sometimes against all odds. Hope returns with single heartbeat. If you enjoy real medical stories that reveal what truly happened inside emergency rooms and intensive care units, subscribe for more true hospital experiences.